Hey, Salabak here, and welcome to my closet. I decided to go for the Ben Teskey look for this video. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't ask. You don't want to know. Okay. One thing that's always caused a bit of confusion with my Myers-Briggs type as an ISTP has been my tertiary NI, Introverted-Intuition. It's what caused me to often get borderline results between S and N on online tests, causing me to mistype as INTJ or INTP occasionally. And even after learning about the functions and recognizing that introverted intuition is the ISTP's third function, I would still think I related to the descriptions about NI. And I actually thought I had a pretty well-developed NI for a tertiary function. It's like, hey, I'm absorbing all this information and then seeing a big picture pattern. Or, sure, I like to theorize about abstract concepts. But then, the more I paid attention to the NI DOMs on YouTube, especially the INFJs I've been getting to know, the more I realized that there's definitely a difference between NI as a dominant function and NI as a tertiary function. And it basically comes down to the fact that NI DOMs do things with their NI that I would never even think of doing with mine. Now, the tertiary function is also known as the child function, according to John Beebe's archetype model. And for the longest time, I never knew why and didn't bother to study it. It just seemed like a bit extraneous or esoteric to the parts of type theory that I was looking at. But just recently, I started realizing that the key difference that sets me apart from the NI dominants is they use their intuition for everything. I mean, logically it makes sense. You know, it's the NI is their dominant function, and so it's the main cognitive process that they use in their daily life. Just like I use introverted thinking all the time. It's just that I never quite grasped the concept that NI could be used in ways far beyond how I use it. But now that I see the difference, I actually understand why it's considered my child function. Basically, I use NI like it's a toy. All that abstract theorizing and pattern recognizing I do is about stuff that doesn't really matter in life. But rather, it's stuff that I like to think about just for fun. Prime example, anything involving works of fiction, you know, like movies and TV shows, particularly ones that have cleverly written, complex stories that I have fun trying to analyze. Most people who know me know that I'm pretty obsessed with Lost, even 2.5 years after the series ended. Back when it was on, I, along with most other Lost fans, enjoyed coming up with theories about everything that was happening on the show. What the island was all about, what the characters' motivations were, the purposes of all the hatches, what the smoke monster was, what the others were doing on the island. And the reason I enjoyed theorizing about Lost was because the writers wrote it in such a way to keep the fans guessing about all the mysteries on the show. And the writers had a certain set of answers in mind to eventually be revealed throughout the course of the show. And if my theories turned out to be wrong, the worst that happened was I was proven wrong. And then, after the series ended, a lot of viewers complained that there were so many questions that were left unanswered. But that's actually what's kept me obsessed with it. Because now that we've been given all the information that we're ever going to get about the show, I can theorize all I want and try to fill in the gaps. And I know I'm never going to be proven wrong. And that's just something that's fun for me to do, because it's a contained work of fiction that has its own little universe. Now, contrast that with real life, where there's never a predetermined conclusion to any story I'm living. There's no reason to think that anything I see is a clue to something else I might discover later. And I'm just a tiny speck in this infinite universe of continuous random events. Even if you believe in God like I do, and believe that He's in control of everything and has His own divine plan for His entire creation, that's God we're talking about. You know, not a couple of human writers of a finite story. So for me to try to theorize about any of God's plans or about the meaning of life, it's just way too much for my NI to handle. Well, I mean, I could use my NI for that if I really wanted to, but the point is, I don't want to. And see, that's why they say MBTI is all about our cognitive preferences. You know, we have the ability to use all the functions, but we just naturally prefer some functions over others. And when dealing with real life, I'm totally a sensor. I'm focusing on the facts that I know in the here and now, and then using my introverted thinking to process it. And only then does my NI step in and see the big picture. But as far as seeing big picture conclusions before thinking them through, I just don't trust my own intuition enough to do that with real life situations. Remember I said that if my theories about loss were ever proven wrong, the worst that happened was I was proven wrong? Well, in real life, there are actual consequences for being wrong. Ones that can affect me or other people. And if it's not about a situation that directly involves me, then I just don't see the point in theorizing about something when I have no way of verifying whether I'm right. You know, I mean, with fictional stories, even if I don't get the answers, I can still decide for myself that I'm right, because there's no right or wrong for stuff that's left unanswered. But in real life, you know, there's always a truth about something, whether I know that truth or not. So I just don't feel like guessing when I know I might be wrong. So, in general, I think it's just best to keep using my NI as my child function, you know, for the fun stuff that I don't have to worry about, and leave the real intuiting to the intuitives. Now, I know in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that God can sometimes speak to me through my NI and give me an insight into something that He wants me to see. And I guess it sort of makes sense if NI is my child function, because I'm considered a child of God, or something like that. Never mind. Anyway, but I'm curious to know if this same child function concept applies to other types, especially those who have TI as their third function. You know, since TI is my dominant function that I'm most comfortable using in real life. So, you know, you INFJs and ISFJs, well, basically INFJs, since I don't have any ISFJ viewers, at least not that I know of. Do you see introverted thinking as something you'd rather reserve for fun little things like solving puzzles or logic-based games, as opposed to real life? And do you see the way I use my TI as like taking it to a whole different level? So yeah, just something I'm kind of curious about. And I had a few other ideas of things to talk about for this video, about how I use my child function, but I'm going to save those topics for my next video, because my legs hurt. Ah. Ah. See, Ben is young. He can sit on his closet floor and ramble on for an hour on video. Me, not so much. Ah!